Hello, and welcome back to Bedtime Stories with Vice Baby, where we will continue good stories for great holidays. Memorial Day, April or May. Flag Day, June 14th. Betsy Ross and the Flag by Harry Pringle Ford. Adapted. On the 14th day of June, 1777, the Continental Congress passed the following resolution. Resolved, that the flag of the 13 United States be 13 stripes alternated red and white, that the Union be 13 stars, white in a blue field, representing a new constellation. We are told that previous to this, in 1776, a committee was appointed to look after the matter, and together with General Washington, they called at the house of Betsy Ross, 239 Arch Street, Philadelphia. Betsy Ross was a young widow of 24, historically supporting herself by continuing the upholstery business of her late husband, young John Ross, a patriot who had died in the service of his country. Betsy was noted for her exquisite needlework and was engaged in the flag-making business. The committee asked her if she thought she could make a flag from a design, a rough drawing of which General Washington showed her. She replied with defiance that she did not know whether she could or not, but would try. She noticed, however, that the star was drawn had 6 points, and informed the committee that the correct star had 5. They answered that, as a great number of stars would be required, the more regular form with 6 points could be more easily made than one with 5. She responded in a practical way by deftly folding a scrap of paper. Then, with a single clip of her scissors, she displayed a true, symmetrical, 5-pointed star. This decided the committee in her favor. A rough design was left for her use, but she was permitted to make a sample flag according to her own ideas of the arrangement of the stars and the proportions of the stripes and the general form of the whole. Sometime after its completion, it was presented to Congress, and the committee had the pleasure of informing Betsy Ross that her flag was accepted as a nation standard. The Star-Spangled Banner by Eva Merge Tappan. Adapted. In 1814, while the War of 1812 was still going on, the people of Maryland were in great trouble, for a British fleet began to attack Baltimore. The enemy bombarded the forts, including Fort McHenry. For 24 hours, the terrific bombardment went on. "If Fort McHenry only stands, the city is safe," said Francis Scott Key to a friend, and they gazed anxiously through the smoke to see if the flag was still flying. These two men were in the strangest place that could be imagined. They were in a little American vessel, fast moored to the side of the British Admiral flagship. A Maryland doctor had been seized as a prisoner by the British, and the president had given permission to them to go out under a flag of truce to ask for his release. The British commander finally decided that the prisoner might be set free, but he had no idea of allowing the two men to go back to the city and carry any information. "Until the attack on Baltimore is ended, you and your boat must remain here," he said. The firing went on. As long as daylight lasted, they could catch glimpses of the stars and stripes whenever the wind swayed the clouds of smoke. When the night came, they could still see the banner now and then by the blaze of the cannon. A little after midnight, the firing stopped. The two men paced up and down the deck, straining their eyes to see if the flag was still flying. "Can the fort have been surrendered?" they questioned. "Oh, if morning could only come." At last, the faint gray of dawn appeared. They could see that some flag was flying, but it was too dark to tell which. More and more eagerly they gazed. It grew lighter. A sudden breath of wind caught the flag. and it floated out on the breeze. It was no English flag, it was their own stars and stripes. The fort had stood, the city was safe. Then it was that Key took from his pocket an old letter, and on the back of it, he wrote the poem, The Star-Spangled Banner. The British departed, and the little American boat went back to the city. Mr. Key gave a copy of the poem to his uncle, who had been helping to defend the fort. The uncle sent it to the printer and had it struck off on some handbills. Before the ink was dry, the printer caught up one and hurried away to a restaurant, where many patriots were assembled. Waving the paper, he cried, "Listen to this!" And he read, "Oh, say, can you see, by the dawn's early light, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does the star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the lands of the free and the home of the brave?" "Sing it! Sing it!" cried the whole company. Charles Durang mounted a chair, and then for the first time, the Star-Spangled Banner was sung. The tune was "To Anacreon in Heaven," an air which had long been a favorite. Halls, theaters, and private houses rang with its strains. The fleet was out of sight even before the poem was printed. In the middle of the night, the admiral had sent to the British soldiers this message: "I can do nothing more," and they hurried on board the vessels. It was not long before they left Chesapeake Bay altogether, perhaps with the new song ringing in their ears as they went. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Bedtime Stories with Vice Baby. I hope you'll have a good night and sweet dreams.